We're going to review some of our newest features in that today. Online with me, I also have Tom Lewis, one of our regional and DoD trainers, and Michael Bozzoni, who is one of our part-time regional trainers, and they'll be helping us out today as we go along. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to post it up in a question, and they'll jump in on that and maybe cut in on the microphone and answer it live. We've only got 14 attendees as of right now, so we should be able to get back to you fairly quickly on the mic and answer your questions.
Yeah, and the nice thing is we got to. I'll do that right now and interrupt. It's Tom. So shout out also to Nancy Shane out in Michigan and to Jim Wheeler at Independence, Ohio. And Jim, we'll get with you offline on your imports after the meeting.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Tom. We're going to go ahead and jump into some of the things that happened on the admin side and maybe some miscellaneous. The screen we're sharing right now is our login pages you're familiar with. And one of the features we have, and there's just been an upgrade to this as well, is for your folks to reset their own password if they've forgotten it. And that would happen if they come in, click the forgot password hyperlink here. You'll get the pop-up here, forgot password, and they need to remember their username. And I will type one in I'm using for this today. And when we get that link, we're going to send the link to me. And as you can see, it's been sent to the email address I have attached to that specific password or username. And here's a recent change, and this just happened this week, is now the password link in your email, instead of expiring in 1 hour, that's been extended out to 24 hours. What we can do at that point is go in to the email, and let me do that right quick. Show you what this all looks like, and we'll just jump through it real quick. And here's that link. Got in there just that quick, and we click that link, and we'll get the create new password pop-up will come up, and we will put that in as long as it meets the minimum requirements. Put it in and verify it. Create new password, and then you will be able to get to your account with the login screen. Put in that new password and log in. And that's how your users can reset their own password. Now, one thing I'll mention is that you may, depending on if you've had to use that before, use the reCAPTCHA pictures to select where you would take the different panels in the picture and pick several panels. It'll say, like, click on the ones that display a street sign in it and so forth. So very quick and painless procedure to change your password. And again, that link was changed from being active for only 1 hour up to 24 hours. One other point I want to make out, this is a recent change, and this is just a kind of a notation in here that they made in the change password panel. It's this notation right here where it says maximum character length is 64. That is apparently an industry standard, and we just put that in for notification purposes there. So if you do try to put in a password that is more than 64 characters, the system will kick that out and not allow you to do that. Now, I don't know why anybody would do it, but I suppose out there somewhere somebody's done that, so that's how we have that set up now. I am going to jump back into the admin module. A couple things we want to show you here. The first place I'm going to jump to is in the apparatus list. In the case in your department, you have perhaps chosen to put mutual aid department apparatus in so you can enter them into your incident report, or you may have them in there for a different reason. You may use this new feature. I'm going to go to edit this vehicle TR-1 down here. When we edit that vehicle, all the way at the bottom of the page here, we now have an apparatus ownership fields that you can check. By default, it'll be department unit, but you can select a not department unit. And when you select that not department unit, what the system will do at that time after we save it here is it will remain in your vehicle list, and this will also still display in your pick list, for example, for entering an incident report. But what it does do is takes it off of your vehicle list in the maintenance module. So if we jump in here, I have to check all my little boxes here. I've seen that for about 1,000 times, by the way. And if we come down here now, that vehicle I took would have been in the classification of NN. And you can see that it's not in the list anyplace here anymore. And that was TR-1. The only vehicle we're showing here is TR-2. So that's a feature that you can do to keep your apparatus grid uncluttered, but still have that vehicle available in your pick list to select for an incident response. Now, what we're going to do is jump back to the admin module. A couple other things to show you back here. And basically, we're going to go to the personnel list. And this is another new feature that was actually just rolled out this week. And it's on the contact info tab in a personnel record. And if we come down here to the work address panel, you'll have the work schedules. This will look different than it used to. You can select the work schedule, and then you can put up a work schedule in the system. You can title it, such as real job in the case of a volunteer firefighter, maybe a start date and an end date, and then you can put in, check mark the days that you're normally working, like 8 to 5, for example, Monday through Friday, and this schedule will be in the system. And this actually is tied to a larger project, and that is the LOSAP, which is Length of Service Award Program. And the way the system can calculate perhaps a percentage, if your agency has a requirement that you attend 50% of all fire calls when you're not at work, well, when you put your work schedule in there, then the system will eliminate that from those reports from that time frame in that calculation. And that's all coming down the road fairly soon. And in fact, we just got a draft document out on how that's all going to work that we're reviewing currently. So we're hopeful that'll be in very soon. And this is one of the first elements of this that they've implemented of the change is that work schedules button here on the personal information tab, or contact info tab, excuse me. Okay, so let's jump back to the home page. We'll talk about a couple things here. And this comes under the change my notifications or system notifications. And where I want to go is right in this panel here. We've got chosen to display a couple things that are changed in the incidents. So if I come up here to change my notification under incidents, we've got a couple new areas here. First, we have now it's just been added the ability to display the number of incomplete incidents submitted via a third-party vendor, and this is maybe one of our partners that submits data through an API into your account, and you'll be able to see those if they're incomplete incidents at that time. Check mark the box. And the other new feature we have is that we can display the number of incidents with a NEMSIS 3 PCR submission error by checking that box for you folks that have the N3 accounts. And then we will get those up on the screen here, and you'll probably see a few errors here showing up under the NEMSIS 3 submissions, because this is a test and training account here. And we should have displayed that third party. Let me see if I did that correctly. Have it displayed here, but I don't have that enabled in my account, so in this particular account, so that's probably why it is not displaying right here, but that would show on this list as well if you have that type of submissions ongoing. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to jump back to the occupancy module. Got a couple things in here, one of which is would maybe regard as a kind of a minor update. We're going to go to the Occupancy and go to the Pre-Fire Plans tab. A couple extra fields that are listed here. The first is the fire zone field. And this would be the zones that you set up in your zone list on the admin page, and you can select that particular zone for this occupancy. The other one that you can select here is the population density, and this is off of the list that you may be familiar with on the basic info page 3, which has the rural, suburban, urban, or wilderness selections that you can select. And you can have for data gathering for your pre-planning efforts, so forth. Now, in another area that I want to really talk about, and this will maybe take a little while, is we have the option now to note on an inspection form billable fields. So if your agency bills for inspections, there's a couple areas that you can do this with. The first is you can bill by inspection types. I'll select the inspection types, and you can see here I've created a inspection type of annual billable, and I put in the field here a charge of $75 for that. Now in this field you can put what you need to and then save it. And the purpose of this would be is this for this type of inspection, an annual inspection, any type of inspection you would do. Maybe it's a sprinkler system test that you have a charge, a flat fee for that type of inspection. You can note that in that field in your inspection billable amount for that inspection type, similar to what I'm doing right here, and that when you select that inspection type for an inspection record, it's going to put that fee onto that inspection. The other type that we can do is build in fees for inspection question observation values individually. So here we go and jump over to inspection question observation values. We'll select that, and you can see I have one here that's called fail billable that we determined here. What we're going to do is put in a new one so you can see how this would work. Add new observation value. I would put my observation value, and I'll just call this testing so I can keep track of this a little bit. Click the box here, observation billable, and add that. Here's that inspection observation down here that I just created. The ones you currently have in your system, you cannot add that to. You would have to create additional ones, and I would, to keep them squared away and you understand which one is, put a little note behind it, billable, perhaps. It'll help you out with that. So now that we've got that determined, what we're going to do is come over here to the settings once again, and we're going to go to inspection forms. I've got one set up down here for the training today, and we're going to go into edit that one. And one important thing that I want to show you, first of all, is all the way down here at the bottom of the form under the Add Edit Signature options, and this is brand new, there is a field down here where we can check mark display the inspection billable amounts on our inspection form. We had quite a few customer comments that did not like the fact that these were showing up in their summary panel on your inspection form, even if you did not bill any amounts out. So now it's optional for you to display that. And the way you display it is check that box under your edit signature options and save it. Now they will be displayed on this particular inspection form when we print it out. Now, to add a billable amount to a individual inspection question here, and what I'm going to use is this certificate of occupancy as a test, is I'm going to say for this, let's say we have a fee of $100 for that. I'm going to put that in there and save it, and you'll see that we have that at times we have a little bit of an issue with this not saving the first time, but if you save it a second time, boom, there it magically appears. We're aware of that, and they're looking into why that's being created like that. So if we note under certificate of occupancy, and we pick that observation value that we just created, it will throw a $100 fee onto this inspection form. I'm just going to pick this next one down here under Rule 3, waste material, and say we have one for that as billable amount of $25. And we have to do our second input on this. And there it is right there. So we have to remember that under Rule 1, admin, certificate of occupancy, $100, and then the waste material, $25, if we select that observation value that we just corrected. So, well, since I'm done editing this form, I'm going to lock it and get our good old message there. And that's this Virtual Thursday form I just created down here at the bottom of the list. So I'm going to jump into an occupancy, the good old Arby's. And we're going to go to inspections. And I'm going to start an inspection, and we are going to, our inspection type is annual billable. And we're going to use this form down here, Virtual Thursday form that I just created. The second page, so what we'll do here is that top item here, certificate of occupancy. As you remember, I created that as a billable question. And if I come in and select that observation value, it's going to add it. And that's where we'll see it displayed right here. Testing for Virtual Thursday, $100 when we come down into this next one, and so forth. So the point is you could generate specific values on your form that you need and have in your agency. So we have a total of 100 here, 25 down here, and when we get done with this inspection record, let's go next to page 3. We get that inspection, we'll just say we pass it, you'll see it displayed here. Here's my inspection type, billable amount, $75, and my total observations amount adds up to $125. And we'll go to the next page here, and we will select those observations, and let's preview that report. Here's my billable amount displayed here for that inspection question, and for that inspection question, when we get down here to the summaries, you can see we have our $75 fee, then that total of $125 adds up to $200. So that again is optional. So if anybody started using these forms to bill, and you noticed since the update that we pushed out Tuesday that this is not displaying on your screen, what you'll have to do is go in and create a new form based upon the one you were using, and check that box in the signature options to display this information on the page. So I heard somebody.
That's something I want to add real quick on this one. So jets are flying over, so hang on one second. Okay, so one thing you might notice is that even if you have turned off or unchecked where Mark had showed you on the billing items there for in the summary section, the billable amount text or in black there by the $25 amount, that billable amount line still appears, but our team is working on removing that in the event that you don't bill and don't want that extra text to show. So just a heads up on that. Those of you that do not bill or won't be billing, you're going to see that status notes in the billable amount regardless of what you check right now. But as soon as they fix it, that's going to go away and it will only appear when you check it.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Appreciate that. Do we have any questions we need to take a moment and answer, Tom or Michael?
Nope, they've all been answered from Jim Wheeler and Independence, just about the ability to print. For those of you that aren't seeing the question, Jim had asked, can the inspector print out a blank form as it appears for the customer, basically? And the answer is not directly from the form itself where you create the forms. However, you can do a mock inspection on a building and just not fill anything out, and it will give you exactly what the customer would see or what your inspectors would see in what Mark's showing on the screen here without any responses, and that would give you a sample of what the output would look like.
Okay, perfect, yeah. Good answer. You have to be careful, though, with printing some of those out, like that form that we have right here. You can see I selected just to show those two observation values. I think this particular form, if I would print it out without doing any filtering on it, well, let's just show you what this would look like right now with doing what you're saying. Depending on the length of your inspection form, I'll pull everything in here, sorry about that. This particular inspection form can be quite lengthy, such as this was 21 pages. So just be aware of that, because this is a pretty in-depth form that we used here locally. So that's that part. Let's get back to where we want to be. Let's see, I need to jump to the daily roster to show you a small little feature that was added. If we have a roster that we're viewing, I'm going to jump into this last one we have down here. And I do not see it here. Here we go. The previous and next roster date buttons are here that we can take a look at the previous roster date, and these aren't filled out all the way. These are just put in for a little bit of testing. Next roster date, and what these weren't displaying on my one because they I didn't have one out there, so now we got it. We can just bounce back and forth through these, so you can take a look at them fairly quickly. As you can see, we're displaying them then. That's an addition just recently. I don't recall exactly when, unless Michael or Tom does. They want to jump in. Let's see. What was that?
I'm not sure where they were added either, but yeah, they are great features to have to bounce back and forth, especially if you have quite a few rosters.
Absolutely. It saves a lot of step of going back to the open roster list and filtering through on which one you want to get. You can just bounce, boom, 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 right down the line. All right. Next little thing we're going to talk about is in the hydrants module, and this was a new permissions level. Actually, let's go back. Let me do it this way. We're going to go back to admin. And I'm going to go to, let's go to good old Gino here, and to security. This was pushed out earlier this year. The ability to set the access to hydrant records as read-only with work order access, and that was pretty helpful for those agencies that had maybe a water department that used your system for maintaining their work order record and their inspections and testing and repairs on fire hydrants, but you did not want them the ability to go in and edit any data you had on your hydrants. That you could set that by selecting there, saving it, and when they went into the hydrant record, they could select a hydrant, take a look at it, and add a work order, but not be able to change any of the data in that work order. So let's put this in, and then we're just going to save this. So that's what that gave them the ability to do, was to put in that work order, but not be able to change any of that data in the system. And if I can sort these by date. Push the button one too many times, once too quick. Here we go. I just put this one in here on a 1116. I'm signed in as Alex Erickson, by the way. So that's what that ability was under the fire hydrants with that setting. Now that may become kind of a moot point because we are rolling out, hopefully more sooner than later, is a roles and permissions, which is going to be a big feature update. And that will enable you in your personnel list to basically set them up for security settings by groups. So if you have a stock settings that you have for the firefighter position, perhaps, or maybe your chief officers, you can set them up into a roles and permissions group and go in and incrementally set their settings. So when you put a new user in, you can just pull that settings out and add it to them. You don't have to click on all the little radio buttons for each individual. You'll be able to add all your individuals to that specific role and permission and fly with it from there. It's going to make things a lot more streamlined and give you a lot more flexibility in what your personnel are going to be able to access, add, edit, and delete. So we're looking forward to that. And I know I think I just saw yesterday, maybe Tom knows the exact number, but I think we're up to, it's up in the high teens, 18 maybe, departments that are have switched and are testing that currently. So
that sounds right. Yep, 18 beta testers right now that are giving us some really great feedback. I know that the product owner, I'll speak for Mike, his name is Mike McGreevy. He's very pleased with the feedback that's coming in through the trainers and through your contact that helped set that up. So thank you for those of you online that are participating in that. And I do have to mention one other person that's on the list that I know she's always on our virtual Thursdays out at Sheboygan, Wisconsin, is Lisa Horn. So good to see you as always, Lisa. Thanks for joining in today.
Yeah, all of us are pretty excited about this new rules and permissions when it comes out. Again, it's going to give you a lot more flexibility in setting specific incremental permissions per module, and it's going to be a lot more streamlined, easier to use, and give you more flexibility in all that. So look for that pretty soon. Tom, do you know what a deploy date is on that, or have they advertised that as of yet?
Yeah, those roles and permissions, because there isn't a date, and it's not going to be a hard rollout. It's going to be, you're given the choice, and there's going to be training. There's knowledge base articles already up on it. There's going to be a 2-minute tutorial, which will probably wind up being more like 5 minutes, but we'll do some tutorials so you understand the process, and there'll absolutely be one or more virtual Thursdays on it. So we want you to understand what's going to take place, and it's relatively simple, but you'll still need to understand the differences, because it is a different way to assign permissions to your organization, and the feedback we're getting from the beta testers, by the time it does start rolling out to the customer base system-wide, there'll probably be some more granular, what we call granular functionality to it, so you'll be able to do some things that you've always wanted to do, where as full permissions is just too much, and then sometimes limited's is not enough, and then certainly read-only is read-only, so you can't do much, you can't do anything really other than see it. So we're hoping that we'll have some additional functionality by the time it rolls out system-wide. So keep an eye on it. I'm expecting right after the first of the year it'll start being a big push. Maybe late this year, but probably the first of next year.
Yeah, that was my assumption as well. I just didn't know if you heard any updates in the last few days.
Nothing in the last few days.
Okay, thanks, Tom. All right, now we're going to switch over into the maintenance module. And what we've got in here is actually quite a few changes we're going to run down the list here. One of the changes in the background of the maintenance module is the permission setting currently as it is for the limited user. Previous to now, and this was just rolled out just a few weeks ago, the limited user in a maintenance could only request a maintenance work order. They could not edit it, assign it, or complete it. They could only request maintenance. So now, and this individual I'm logged in currently right now has that permission setting, so I'm just going to go in here and grab a piece of equipment and show you that when we request that maintenance now, previously the only thing they could do is get into the request maintenance, so we can request that. Let's do an advanced cleaning on this. Now they have the ability to assign it. So let's assign it for tomorrow, and let's just pretend like we completed it tomorrow as well. Anyway, all the other functionality is still there. That was added to that And then we still have our being able to send that email notification as well. So that ladder that I just put that request in for, I believe it was this top one I just did here, and that was it right here. So again, just to recap that, the limited user can now request it, edit it, assign it, and complete the maintenance work order, where previously the only thing they could do was request it. Another thing that was added recently was the ability to assign equipment to an apparatus compartment. And what we're going to do here is to go in and show you that I have set up a couple here. And what I did was set them up, as you can see on the screen right now, I'm highlighting E201-22 and E201-cab. So on that particular rig, I set up 2 compartments. And if I filter by that, you can see I've got this hazmat monitor, PID, set up in compartment engine 201-22. And I want Michael and Tom to chime in on this. One of the things that I know in the system, let me jump in and go to edit ownership. Here's what we're talking about, is this apparatus compartment was created. Now you can go in and create your compartments. As you can see, I have a compartment 22, but if we select compartment 22 and I change it and save that assignment, let me put that in up here. As you can see, I've got it assigned to this test piece of equipment and this monitor, but I don't know what rig it's on. I just know it's in compartment 22. So what I did is went in and created that compartment by prefixing it with the apparatus ID number and then what compartment on the actual apparatus that it was on, to make it easier for me to know what rig it went on. So
hey, Mark, if you select both an apparatus and a compartment, they'll both appear there in that row.
Okay, so let's go back in and do this.
Yep. Beat me to it.
Yeah, obviously you can assign it to more than one rig. So if we put this on 201 here,
you can get rid of the yeah. It should show both in that row. Watch me be wrong. Nope, there it is.
Here we go. Engine 201 and 22. So that's a way of noting it. I guess a couple different ways. That's what I like about the system. You've got that flexibility to whatever would make sense to you. So we can assign it to the engine and a compartment, and you would go in and make up your compartment numbers, 1 through whatever. Maybe have one. We have one in our department that we called cab because of all the different gadgets we put in the cab. One for a hose bed and so forth. So we knew where to look for it, for example. So that was added. Let's see if I go down my list here into bulk operations. So what we're going to do is in the bulk operations, I am going to ownership, and I'm just going to, let's say, go into these extension ladders again. And if I select all of them here, you can see on the bulk operations pop up here, a couple things were added to this. First is the ability to print work orders. So if I print work orders for those I have selected, and I'm going to try the old refresh.
Sometimes it gets a little wonky on that page.
Yes, it does. And I am.
Oh, you know what? There's no pending work orders.
Ah, perfect. If I refer back to my notes, if I would have selected all pending here and then selected them, thank you, Tom, for pulling me out. Print work orders, pow, now we've got them out here. And one thing I'll point out to you is that the work orders, although they look like they're one after the other here, when you actually would select to print them, and I'm using Google Chrome, you'll see that they do print on an individual page. so they don't paginate from just cut over from one page to the other. They do paginate there. So that is the ability to print the work orders, and the other feature that we've added here, let me sign this, is the ability to do a bulk operation for the ability to assign and schedule maintenance. So let me take off my all pending here, and let's go back to my favorite little ground ladders here. And if I select all those and we get to a bulk operation, previously when we added a maintenance record, the only option that we had was to complete the work order. Now we can.
Oh no, they changed it finally. Okay, good.
Yeah, we can request it. So let's say we're doing a NFA annual test on these ladders. Hope if I could spell right. Okay, when we get that data in, we can now we can assign it. Previously, the only thing you do is complete this again. So we can assign this. Let's do this tomorrow. Boy, we're going to be busy doing maintenance tomorrow. Add our files. All that functionality is still there, and then we can jump in and complete it as well. So it helps us get all this done, streamline when you need to do some bulk scheduling. Let's say you're going to do all your ladder testing next week or whatever, you can go in and do so. And all the other functionality, again, is here.
It's great for planning for hose testing, ladder testing in the future.
Absolutely.
That way it lays down a pending work order in bulk versus trying to do them one at a time.
Yeah. Absolutely. So what we've got here, as you can see, I just threw that record in. If I checked all these, you'd see it. That was in here. So the thing that we're so missing from that, and I don't know the total plan into the future with it is, but we're hopeful that eventually you'll have the ability to schedule your maintenance and say, every year in July, starting on July 1, I want to automatically create the work orders for doing my ladder testing on these ladders, similar to what we can do in the hydrants module. So we're pretty hopeful that that's going to roll out eventually there, and that'll help you with you won't have to go in and manually select them, even if it's a bulk operation. It takes a little bit of time. Somebody going to jump in? I thought I heard a mic open. Tom or Michael?
No, we're good. Just that that functionality, like recurring events, just to be able to schedule it instead of doing a bulk operation for each year. You do it once, and then it would reschedule for you. That'll be nice.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm an equipment and maintenance guy from the old days when I worked on a shift, so that would have been really nice to have that functionality into it. Another little feature that we put up here to help us out a little bit. Let me go to my example. I selected this under the hazmat equipment and to the air monitors. As you can see with my different air monitors, and this is my ID number that I'm navigating my mouse on by right now. Right next to that, we added the feature to display the type field next to the ID number in the grid to make it easier to find the exact piece of equipment that you're looking for. As you can see up here with the monitor Q-002, I don't have any text displayed here because in my record, I jump over here, you can see that my type field is blank. And that type field can be very, very useful for organizing your equipment and noting. I have a hazmat monitor, here's the number, and oh, it's the 4 gas type, or it's the CGI rad, so forth, down the page. So that was added is help you out a little bit. Another thing that we did, and I am going to jump to the apparatus page for this right quick, is the ability, let's say this Quint apparatus right here, that we're going to add a maintenance request, but we're going to add fuel. When we add fuel, you'll have a field that will now display that'll give us the ability to put in the volume that we just put in. So let's say we have 20.34 gallons. We can going to complete that. I can put a cost in actually as we go there. So now that is a maintenance type that we can put in, and you can see that was that entry I just put in here for fuel. Another maintenance type that was added, and both of these actually are available in the apparatus grid and the equipment grid, is the availability to select preventative maintenance for a maintenance type. So let's say our good old Quint here needs its annual preventative maintenance. That's that type right here. We'll select it. Being a little dyslexic today. And then we'll go ahead and complete and close this. Put our cost factors in typically, so we can track all that, and then you can see that is a preventive maintenance type as well that we added to the system. Okay, so let's go back to the equipment grid. Another small little feature that we added, and I'm going to go back to my hazmat equipment, my air monitors, and we have a, let's see, my work order here. Okay, with the maintenance column, I've got a work order out here. As you can see, right above my mouse, testing this new, the word feature was left off. Now when you mouse over the maintenance type, you'll see anything that's truncated will display up in the pop-up window, just so you can see the full title of it there. Now we've got another thing that I set up. Let's see what that was. I think it was in the nozzles here in this. And that would be also if you have a work assignment that can't fully display due to the limitation of the width of the column. It'll be truncated with those periods behind it, and you can see when we mouse over it, the whole item will display. Also with the serial number, if that is truncated, and some things have a serial number like that or worse, that we can only display a certain amount of characters here, that will be displayed there. Let's see. The feature I really like is the fact that we can, I'm going to collapse everything now. We can obviously add new equipment through the button at the top, bring up the dialog box. You can put that in, and you have to select the particular category and the subcategory if it applies in that dialog box. Now you have the ability to add a piece of equipment with the action column over here, where you can add a new piece of equipment. I'm going to go, we'll just say we're going to get us a new saw. If I have subcategories built even, I can add it by selecting at the category level. It will autofill that category. Cancel this and jump down to my chainsaw subcategory. If I add it from that actions column now, it's going to automatically autofill category and subcategory for you automatically. Saves a couple of mouse clicks, reduces errors, and off you're running with that. Another nice little feature we have that's been rolled out is to filter the maintenance grid by the maintenance types. Now what will display in this list right here will be any current work orders that you have displayed and created that are not completed. They've been requested, maybe assigned, but not completed. They will display if you select a box here, and you can select multiple boxes here, or simply select all pending, and all pending work orders will display down the page for you like that. So that comes up, and to reemphasize the fact that we have a lot more maintenance types than what you're seeing here. I've only got 4 here, but this will only display the types that are active open work orders on the page, just to kind of reduce the clutter for you and make it a little bit simpler to do. Another nice little feature we have is, we're going to close this, and let's jump back over to the apparatus page. We're going to put in a work order for engine 101 here. When I put this work order in, let's say I've got a significant issue with this rig, This is how a firefighter would do it. I'm poking fun at the firefighters, but I was one, so I can do this. They'll give you this. It's broke. Under the description, what do they say? Broke, real bad. But we're just kind of in jest here a little bit today. So let's say this is broke. It needs a repair, and it's to the point where we need to take it out of service. You can see this apparatus has been in service since 10/1/2015 at 11:20 hours. I can select it to be out of service at this point, but the new feature that was added was the ability to edit the out of service date and time. So if I'm putting the work order in now, but it actually went out of service yesterday, I can come in and select that date. Let's put it out of service on Tuesday the 14th, and be able to select what time that it went out of service. We'll just pick, let's say 9:22. We'll request and close that. We've got the apparatus out of service. As you can see, it's got our warning flags over here. Here's that work order. And what we're going to do is go in now, and we're going to complete that. And we're going to put it back in service. And when I'm putting it back in service, I again have the opportunity to say that the date and time that we put it in and out of service, I can edit that. Previous to this update, you were not able to edit these, and if you had to keep accurate records of your downtime, you weren't really able to do that, depending on somebody coming and putting in the work order close to the time it went out of service and very close to the time that it went back in service. And one of the nice things with this information is, and by the way, this works exactly like this in the equipment work orders as well as the apparatus. We have two different reports that you can print out to display this information. And this is pretty important for some of our, particularly from what my knowledge is, our DoD customers. This is something they have to report up the chain of command. And here's that apparatus ID engine 101. We put it out of service at 9:22 on the 14th, put it back in service at 1400 hours on the 15th. 28 hours and 38 minutes, and it'll give us a total time right there. And I'll tell you what I'll do is, I'll just do a report for the whole year, because we play around with this account quite a bit with this kind of stuff, and you can see we had it out of service for 2 minutes back in June. This engine 201. This is a really, really informative report, especially when you've got one of those, let's say a garage queen out there, and you want to really keep track of it and display this information up to your city fathers, your board of directors, or whatever you may have at your fire department. Really, really good information to capture that out of service time for those rigs. We had a, where I worked here, a ladder truck that was out of service multiple times in any given year due to its age, really, and this was important for us to have this data. We didn't have it then because I retired last year, but if we would have had it, it would have been nice to display that up the chain of command so they really knew what was going on down in the agency. So that is all the material I have on my list to cover with everybody. See if we'll check the questions here. Is everything up to date, Tom, on the questions?
Yep, sure looks like it. Does anyone have any other questions, or even some system questions that we can answer in the time that's remaining? We'll be glad to answer this for you all.
Absolutely, just post them up, and we'll jump right into it. I'm going to take a moment to review some of these here. Oh, some of those are about your Jim's occupancy imports. You guys are having a sidebar conversation here. That's awesome. With Tom is working with Jim apparently on getting some data imported into their account. Does anybody else want to put up any questions here? We have a few minutes to do so.
And it's open. It's open to just any general system questions.
Okay, I just saw one down here. More robust query builder. Actually, Nancy, they are working on that right now. I don't know a deploy date on that, but that is on the drawing boards currently. So good question, and just look for that in a system update as we come down
the intent, Nancy, is to make it, one, even easier to use, and two, encompass more elements of the system, because as you know, it doesn't encompass every field available to us in the system, and I'm not sure the next version will have everything. pre-field, but it's going to have more, so it gives you even more flexibility to do the custom reports or the ad hoc reporting that you're looking for.
Okay, Jim, status of truck check forms. I wish I could tell you. Maybe somebody else online has that information. I know it's still in the planning stages, but I think it got pushed back, I know, several months. Maybe
Yes,
Tom will have more information.
Yeah, this is near and dear to me, and so I can tell you one of the things that we pride ourselves on with emergency reporting is having the integrity to tell you that we don't have a date and we can't promise you a date. However, there is significant discussions taking place on providing an internal versus a third-party solution, even though our third-party solution, and we don't even call it our third-party solution, it's a partner that happens to do truck check that allows customers that have us to explore Halligan and those that have Halligan to explore us and to see if it's the match that they're looking for. However, we do realize that many of our customers are eagerly awaiting a solution from emergency reporting, and that is not lost on our team. The mock-up that was previously done, it just wasn't going to meet our standards and work the way we wanted it to work, so kind of going back a little bit to the drawing board to make something that's going to work the way we want it to work. It's a very complex, what we call an epic story, a very complex task to get this implemented correctly. So I would hang tight. Realistically, after the first year, we should have some better updates and more defined timelines for you all. So Jim, I appreciate your patience on this. I know a lot of us have been waiting for it as well. But we're still progressing down that path, and we hope to have something for you.
Great, thanks, Tom. Great discussion there. Again, that's something that was near and dear to me too. I wish we would have had that a couple years ago before I retired to be able to check all that. We killed quite a few trees daily by all of our paper records that we were doing, and having those truck check forms online in the system would have been much more beneficial to us, to get the data in quicker and easier, and the functionality of tying it together into the work order generation, all that would have been spectacular. We're still working on it, look forward to it, and we'll mention that again if we have the opportunity to put our input into it, that yeah, customers are still asking about it. So thanks again, Jim. Anybody else have anything they want to jump in and talk about and ask us? Kind of open mic time, really.
I know there's got to be some questions out there. See if you can stump us today.
Yeah, let's play Stump the Chump. What do you think, Tom?
Yes, we'll see. We got some power users on, so
Yeah, maybe
somebody's got some questions for us.
Yeah, there's 19 of you out there. Somebody's got to have some kind of question. How about Todd?
Paul's got a question.
Right.
Okay, Paul Richards, can we generate an automatic email notification as soon as an incident report is submitted? No. That's the short answer on that. As soon as it's submitted, as in somebody putting the data in and completing it. No, the only one I know of is when, if you incomplete it, you can generate a email to the submitter of it. Okay, so we got a couple other things. So, okay, Roger, station maintenance update. That is part of the larger picture of upgrade, a future upgrade to the maintenance module. Instead of just having the equipment and apparatus buttons at the top, you'll also hopefully more sooner than later see a facilities button there, which would be all your stations that you'd be able to generate work orders on them. So we know that you have to work on fire stations, keep records there as well. So hopefully that's coming, Roger. And we've got a couple other things I want to getting down here. Missing cities from the basic info 3 city code tables. Yeah, Brian, I know that, and I tell you what, I'm going to write a note down about that. It's that's a list from the federal government.
Feds. That's a table from the feds that we probably, my guess is we need the updated federal, the FIPS table, Federal Information Processing Services table for city and county codes. And once we look into what the latest ones are, then we will get that into our system.
Brian, tomorrow I will look into that and see if we have a ticket written up on that for our programmers to look at that. If not, I will put that in because I do know that some of those lists need to be updated.
And Todd, I got your message there. I'll look forward to your email. No problem.
Let's see, Corey's asking about email delivery confirmation for inspection reports. Currently, okay, Brian just said and talk to Christopher ticket number. So you've already got that put in, maybe on a Zendesk support ticket. I'll look into that and check on the status of that for you. Let's see, there's a couple other things here. Corey, get back to that email delivery confirmation for inspection reports. Currently not, and I don't know that that has been put on the drawing books for anything. One workaround for that, Corey, is, and I don't really myself, I don't like workarounds, is to send that to yourself and then forward it from your email to the manager, whoever you're sending it to at that particular business, and then you'll have that record in your own email. But I understand what you mean, and I get asked that a lot, especially on the DoD bases I get on. Okay, in the occupancy inspection, if you assign an inspector to the master record, will it follow through on the tenants? And the answer, Lisa, is no, I do not believe so. And Tom, jump in if I am incorrect there. But that is one thing that you can do as a bulk operation, is assign inspectors to those records. So you can find them in your list, filter your list out, and then do a bulk operation on all of them and assign them all at one time.
That is a confirmed no.
Yeah, the bulk, the master tenant, I don't think one of the checkboxes is assigned inspector. If I'm not, is that correct? Did you just check that, Mike?
Yeah, we ran into that before, so yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay, so Doug is asking, will there ever be an ability to perform a mass upload, especially for inventories that exist in Excel spreadsheets? And the answer to that, Doug, is yes, very much so. Currently, you have that ability to import equipment through a spreadsheet. Since you asked, we are going to jump there real quick.
And while you're jumping there, I will answer a question from Todd that is magically appeared in my inbox. So Todd's question was, if someone is archived, can we pull their info and make them active later again? You absolutely can. You can unarchive a person and then put their status to active or inactive, and then they will begin appearing in drop-downs and in the reports within the system.
Okay,
so
yeah.
Definite yes on that.
Let me show you, Todd, real quick. Go to personnel list, in your status, go to your archive list, and find them. And I got my daggone controls there are over here onto the far right. There is a unarchived user selector arrow right there, and you can pop them right back into your grid. It'll go back into the right grid, either active or inactive, whatever they were when you archived them.
Correct. And the other question, and this applies to probably many of you, especially as you follow your state laws for records retention and records management. I know each state has different laws. I know here in Arizona, our administrative staff went through it, and it's kind of daunting a little bit. But the question that came up is, if you, after 10 years, you can basically delete your incident data, and currently the only way to delete incident data is one by one, to unlock it twice and then delete it, and it permanently deletes it from your system. If you're running thousands of calls a year, it's a very tedious and unwieldy process. I know many, if not most departments, simply just keep them indefinitely, so they have years, if not decade or more back worth of incidents in their incidents module. And that's perfectly fine. NFIRS keeps it indefinitely as well, so even if you've deleted it locally, NFIRS will still have that data. So right now we have the ability, under the hood, behind the scenes, we can delete imported incidents, and we can delete or incomplete incidents in a bulk fashion, but that has to be done via support or one of us trainers to be able to modify it in a batch like that. So it's been discussed internally on doing something in that manner, but we still want it to be, and Kim, one of our support managers, she made a great point when I talked to her today about it, is that it would be also imperative that if we provided that functionality behind the scenes via support, that it would indeed be deleted from your account, but ultimately in an archive status in the event you ever did need to recover those incidents. So It's really no problem other than unless there's legal issues in your organization for keeping incidents past, say 10 years, if that's your your threshold for document retention. There's really no downside to keeping it because other than unless locally you have legal issues behind it, then certainly that's an issue. But as far as the technology and the data side of it, data storage is so cheap that it's a truly an atom in a molecule in a bucket of water compared to all the data that we're storing. So it's not an issue for us. It would be something we would have to discuss with you, Todd, to see if that would be something we'd have to develop, and it would require some development time.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Tom. To get back to the other question there, to cover that real quick, yes, we do have an equipment import tool. It's on your admin page under imports. This is customer facing, which means you can get to it and see it. Here's the manner we do that. We actually give you a template. You can use your own file, but the file has to be saved as a CSV file type, and it'd be better, and it works a little bit better if you use our template, which looks like this. It's got all the fields in the equipment record up here. The really important ones to get right are your equipment ID in column A, and over here in columns M and N is to get your category and subcategory right. And what I mean by that is if you have, for example, the SCBA category built, it'll put everything into that. If you create a new subcategory right here or type it wrong, instead of putting SCBA in or air cylinder in, you misspell it, it will create a new subcategory, which isn't that big of a deal because if it's wrong, you can move things quite easily. But that's that import tool for equipment. Works pretty good. I've done this a bunch in trainings and for some customers, so it's actually worked really, really well. So I think we are really winding down now, and I see there's some couple other things going on here. Got somebody chatting with us. Okay, yeah. Also, I want to clarify, thanks, Michael. That is the equipment. Some people call that equipment inventory, like your inventory is hose in that. The inventory, we look at it as consumable supplies, and no, that does not have an import tool for that. But the equipment does. So if that's what you were meaning, hopefully. So let's go back down here and check real quick because we're out of time. I've actually got another meeting I need to jump to as well. Okay, Doug did say equipment was what I was returning to. Thanks.
Roger asked about the pre-planned software partner updates. So not pre-planned drawing per se. However, we do have, not for drawing them per se, but we do have First Do Size Up, we have Rhodium, we have there's another 2 or 3 other companies we're partners with, that their data, that you collect the data within there, build it in their particular pre-planned software or occupancy management software, will push data into our occupancy module. And if you go to our marketing site, there should be a partner page that will list our current partners.
Perfect. Thanks, Tom. Let's see.
I think we got everybody. Did we get everybody?
I think we did too. We got it. Perfect. So I got to get to this other meeting. Thanks for attending, everybody. We appreciate it. And we'll be looking for you the next time. Thanks, Tom and Michael, as well. Yeah, everybody have a happy Thanksgiving.
Yep, well. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Good job, Mark. And Mike, thanks for being there. And also should mention Alan Miller was with us, too. He's one of our trainers out of Ohio. He was on for a little bit and then had to probably go on a call. So just have a wonderful Thanksgiving, everybody. We'll see you after the first major holiday of the season in early December.